show is brought to you by
Organissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.organissima.com. Organissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, and all the other channels on the EMBC network here with your host, Hurricane H. A new day, new show, new topic. A topic that's dear to me and probably to everyone watching and listening right now. We all live life, and sometimes we all need guidance and instructions and help, and we deal with a lot of things. We get overwhelmed, and it is always important to have other resources and sources for us to help us, kind of rewire ourselves, reset and change and shift things, to get things done in life and deal with real life. And with me today, I have someone from LifePix University. She is St. Rappaport, and she is the founder of this particular program. She's a brain coach. Now, we're going to talk about that. St., welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Hurricane Age. I am super excited to be here speaking with you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. And I love the energy, by the way. Yes, this is going to be a real, level 20. I mean, we're going to be way up there. But that's fun stuff, right? But so let's talk about that. I love the name, LifePix University. I mean, I get the university part. So, you're teaching and coaching people. But the LifePix, it's very important to get that, because this is all about life.
Yeah, so it's not like real story behind. I like to pretend that there was a story behind of fixing life and things like that. But it's just easier to say that there's no life story, no life thing. But it's about really fixing your life and creating your best things, because what we're really doing is we're working on the core of your issue instead of putting on band-aids. So instead of teaching you one specific skill that you will get when you take any course or you learn anything from anyone, we're not teaching you a specific skill. Instead, we're going behind all the skills that you do every day, and we go to your thinking skills. What is something that is affecting every single thing that you're doing throughout your life? We're improving that. So that fixes your whole life.
And that is a story. That's the mission. That is a mission, right? I mean, I think everybody's story. That's how life story is, right? Everybody has some sort of, like I said in the beginning, we all deal with life, and sometimes we deal with it the way best we can, and but sometimes another, venue, somebody else can help us, or we see that, we get that. I mean, today's show hopefully will deliver some of that to some of our audiences and listeners and viewers right now, and I know, again, that was something you've created. Am I right with that? This is your baby.
The LifePix University, I have created the actual programs, but it's based on different programs of a different method. It's called the Feuerstein method. It's quite popular in other countries. I think it's in 40 countries around the world. For some reason in America, it's not. But hopefully together with LifePix University, as more and more people go through it, it will be more and more popular.
There you go. Well, that's it. I mean, you're it, right? Well, listen, it's always good. You're pioneering, and it's, again, in the States, you're making it happen. People, I didn't know that was part of another program, but it is. But
it's not part. I just want to clarify, just so people don't get confused. It's based on. So if you might have heard the Feuerstein program, and then you come to LifePix University, you might see there are some differences. I'm very clear that it's based on, I'm trained in it, and we know all the things, we use a lot of their stuff, but it's not just. So there might be tweaks, and there might be
your own formula. That's what it is.
Yes.
Your own signature. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we all learn from something. We all pick a concept and we tweak it, and it becomes a new version of things. There's nothing wrong with that. Agree. And I love that, actually. That's innovative and different, and you have your own style. I love it. And so that's great. Now, what got you into this?
Okay. So that is a good story.
Yeah, we'd like to hear about that. Well, because I think that's going to motivate people, right?
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I really like to share it because I think it just shows like how applicable it is to everyone. So when I was in fifth grade, I still struggled with reading. I don't think you realized how early back this story would go. But when I was in fifth grade, I went to a lot of tutors, and parents spent a lot of money on tutors to help me with reading, and it wasn't really getting anywhere. So eventually, my mom heard of this method before and decided to bring in mediums from across the country, across the ocean, actually, from different countries to my city to give trainings to people. So that way these people could afterwards do these sessions with me. So I did these sessions for quite some time, and we didn't do anything about reading. Like literally, there was no like reading that we had to do, no nothing. We were just doing thinking skills. But not only did it improve my reading, it improved my entire schooling, improved my self-confidence. I made more friends. I became much more open. I became like a much overall healthy person in general because it worked on the core issue behind the things like I was talking about before on the thinking skills. So I decided to go into this. Now, the story doesn't end there. I started getting trained when I was in 17. But I was also getting trained in other methods. I was like, this is super cool, but like there might be something else and I might be liking something else. But I noticed that really none of the other methods I was doing was giving as much of a ROI for the amount of time and money that you have to put in, especially that it's not like a quick fix one bit. You're like literally have to rewire your brain. So it takes quite a good few months, sometimes years, to really get the change. And it was still worth it. So here's like a really cool story. If you want to know like what was the like break it thing for me was I did a Tony Robbins course.
Nice.
Called Rapid Planning Method. It's about it's not a bad course, about like how to plan based on motivation versus time. Like we think about like timing things and how we should do things. And I was like, okay, there's cool things in here, but there was a very big part of the course where we spoke about like thinking big picture and thinking 6 months ahead, and you should plan for the future and like ahead like that. And I was like, I just can't do that. It's just impossible. I can't, like I could plan for this week. I can't plan for much more than that. But then a few weeks later, or maybe a few months later, I went to take another one of this training in this Feuerstein method because there's many trainings to it and it took quite a good few years. And we were doing one of the trainings, all of a sudden something in my brain clicked. I realized that one of my thinking skills, there are 28 of them, one of my thinking skills was really weak. And that was the reason why I couldn't do that course. So it wasn't that the course was bad, it was that the way my brain was currently wired, it was making it really hard for me to do that course. So rewired that part of my brain, able to finish implementing that method. And today, like I have 6 months of calendars hanging up on my wall, planning ahead. So yeah. Everyone, no matter what stage you're at, no matter what like so-called labels you have or diagnosis, gifted, ADHD, whatever it is, we all have strong and weak cognitive functions, thinking skills, and we always improve them. That was a very long ramble. So
No, that was good. That was good. And it's amazing the way you said, like, rewire your brain and reset and reconfigure these things. I mean, some people will say, well, to your point, like we all think either we have it or we don't, or maybe we label ourselves in a certain way, or people label us, the way they see us. And sometimes, that could be various things. But I love the way you said it, that, you have something clicked and you realized what it was and you were able to kind of tweak. Exactly. And then you saw the results you wanted. Now, that's where the moment where you really became, more involved with this. I'm assuming that's what triggered this whole, you doing it for other people. I mean, it helped you.
Yeah. So it helped me in the beginning. So I knew that it worked. And I saw even in school how much it helped me. But when I did it as an adult and I was doing it like already like working with other people with some of these other programs that I was doing and like trying to do some, right, like just doing adult things. And I was like, this works for adults also. And this, no matter how smart you are, no matter how successful you are, no matter what, like it helps you become even better.
Well, again, I had a few shows, actually, a few guests. We talked about similar discussions. And it is fact that we don't, as humans, really capitalize on the power of our brain, and we don't know how to operate it correctly. It's a big engine, it's a big computer, and a lot of stuff going on there. And we may not even have tapped into the small percentage of those capabilities. And, every time, actually, I get one of those, discussions on the show, it opens up new things, and really, like, my eyes get bigger, my brain gets a little, more, communicating and working internally just to figure things out. And I get, you said something plus 28 or 27, levels, right? That's something you mentioned right now briefly.
Yeah, that's there's 28 thinking skills. So thinking isn't one big thing. It's made up of 28 parts. So we all have stronger ones and weaker ones. And when those things are weak, then it affects you, like, right. So one of the cognitive functions that were weak for me stopped me from being able to do this Tony Robbins program. But everybody has stronger ones and weaker ones.
No, but thank you. But see, that's something like, who knows? I mean, there's thinking and there's 28 levels of thinking. I mean, most of us, we think that's it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I'm good. I got my brains functioning, right? But you're right. Not everybody has, and we see that. And not everybody, you and I can have the same discussion about something. You pick it up one way, I pick it up the other way. And we can have a different discussion. I might be faster. So it all depends on a lot of things. But also, you talked about younger folks and then adults. And, this stuff works for everybody. But everybody has different, I guess, life elements. At every single level of your life, you're dealing with different things. At school, when you're younger, they're basic stuff, right? You go to school, you got friends, you got different issues, right? You become an adult, the issues become a little bit bigger and more intense, and you have everything coming up. You got your bills, you got family, you got this, you got that, and really, like, you got the world around, that you have to deal with, all the stuff, the nonsense. You have pandemics that can happen. Many things can really reset your life, and sometimes people know how to operate with those. And then there's just, if we can zone in even just further, you're just doing your job, and you're in a job or in a business, whatever, you're an entrepreneur. And, there's so many things that happen day to day that you can really just kind of lose it sometimes, or you're really, like, sometimes just trying to give up, and, oh my God, this is like, what did I get myself into? All these things are happening, but it's all coming from our brains. And I love the way you said you are a brain coach. So you really, so let's define that. Are you coaching the brain, or are you coaching the person, the person to operate the brains better?
Yes, exactly that. So what I'm really coaching on is the 28 cognitive functions, the 28 thinking skills. It's helping you identify which one of the ones are weaker, which ones are stronger, and using your stronger ones to help you strengthen your weaker ones.
Excellent. So now you work with, as in LifePix University, do you work with a specific crowd, or it's everyone from employees, regular people, working, not working, entrepreneurs, everybody? Ultimately everybody is unique, and everybody has a life, and everybody has a brain, and they all have the same thinking, capabilities. It's just a matter of tapping on the right ones and tweaking them correctly to operate, better, right? So that's so the spectrum will be pretty much everyone.
Yeah, so it can work for everyone. Like I said, this is people around the world doing this for everyone. Personally, at LifePix University, we focus more on entrepreneurs or CEOs, simply because that way the discussions are more relatable for people. Because if you're talking about dealing with your employees, but you're an employee, it's a little bit, not that it's not possible, but it's a little bit harder. So that's just the focus right now. Maybe one day we'll expand.
Well, I like that. So ultimately, you've focused on a particular group, which are the leaders in enterprise. And so how does that work? I mean, someone who has a business, someone who's leading a company, I can tell you, I'm leading in certain companies. I have my own companies. Personally, it is not easy. You run businesses. It is tough. You got to deal with a lot of stuff that happens, and everybody looks up to you. And even if by yourself, like when you start a business, you start by yourself first, essentially, but you are looking at yourself. You are everybody, right? You are all the employees initially, and you have to figure out all the things that you have to do. It's not easy, and sometimes it gets very difficult, because there are days where, I guess, every entrepreneur out there, at a certain point of their life, they're probably like, ooh, what I got into. And again, there's a lot of negativity around us, people, there's a lot of influence, many people. And, it's funny, I was looking at a TikTok today, so don't quote me on that one. Don't shoot me.
No, me too.
All right, good. There's some good value in there. I mean, there's some fun stuff. There's some good stuff. Yeah. There's some, nonsense, but it's all good. Like everything else, right? There's a little bit of everything. You pick what you want. You tune in, right? So, and it's funny because there was a simple thing. It says, your friends, right? When you own a business, your customers become your friends, more, faster than your friends become your customers. And it is like, from a business perspective, like when you start something, you are excited and you want to do stuff. Sometimes you get inhibited by the behavior of your surroundings or people that may be around you. That's in itself a tough, pickle. I mean, you got to be strong to bypass that and say, you know what? Hey, listen, You are my friends, great. We'll keep that, and you just focus on the larger scale world, and that's it. And eventually your friends will get back. It's like, oh my God, you made it. Well, yeah, where were you when I was doing this stuff, right?
Right. As they say, you become the 5 people you spend the most time with. So pick your people wisely.
I like that, and but it's big. I mean, for people, whether again, I just give the example of someone who started a business, and a lot of people. I mean, the last 3 years, I think there's more people actually going into business, specifically, post pandemic, because for whatever reason they just don't want to go back to work and so on and so forth. And it is, most people think, okay, well, go in business. So there's 2 things: you can work, and it comes with challenges. And it doesn't matter what level you're in. You can be an executive, you can be an employee level, but you still have to do certain things. And everybody's working at different levels. And then, or you can just start your business and, there's struggle. Like you struggle for a few years, maybe you put in a lot of blood, sweat, time, money. Eventually, you get there, right? Hopefully everything works out and you get there. And I mean, and that's the other thing. You
forgot to mention all the fails and the downs and ups.
We'll talk about that, because really that's the thing. This is not, people only see you when you're there. Like, my wife and I were talking the other day, and we're just having this conversation about when people see actors today, celebrities. I mean, they're really out there. We love them. We cherish them, and we grew up with them, some of these actors. But when you go back to the history, for example, they started very, very humble beginnings. They did some stuff. Nobody knew about them until they become in that feature movie, and like, oh my God, I know them. Oh my God, but that's like 10 years, 5 years, 6 years, maybe even more before they got to that point. Some actors didn't start until they're, and later age, right? And became, I guess, famous. They were doing roles here and there. And, everybody starts. You don't just overnight become a superstar. You got to start somewhere. You're a singer. You probably did a lot of tries. You did a lot of, little gigs here and there. But it's not happening overnight. You're an athlete. Some of these people work hard so long before they get to that stardom, when like, oh my God. I mean, so many people are talented out there, but not everybody makes it. But people don't see that. They just comment at the end, to your point, like the iceberg. They look at the tip and they don't understand what's underneath. And it is very, very overwhelming for people. And so now let's say you have someone who started the business and you're going to work with them. Right? How do you kind of maneuver with that person? I mean, ultimately, there's different people. They have different skills, different ways of thinking. Like mindset is big, and we can talk about that also if you don't mind. So how do you work with that? I mean, is that a client? Typical client?
Yes, that is a typical client. And we'll start with mindset because you requested that. So a very big part to what we speak about is the concept of growth versus fixed mindset. Carol Dweck, have you heard of her? Okay, so Carol Dweck.
Oh no, I don't know.
No, Carol Dweck. Yes, she was. I don't know. I think could be she's still there, but she's really old. So, I don't know. But she's a professor at Stanford University, and she did research. She wanted to know what makes a person successful, whether it's athletes or business, school, like anything. Like, how do we know? What makes a person actually succeed? She recognized, like, through her years and years of research, that it has nothing to do with like talents, IQ, or anything else. What it has to do with mindset. If they have a fixed mindset, if they believe that the way they're born is the way that they're going to stay, like they maybe could become a little bit better, but like that's it. There's like a cap to how good they'll be, or every time they fail, they just give up. They don't really think it's possible. They just have a fixed mindset. Exactly what it sounds. It's just like fixed and it can't move. Then they're not going to be successful. The people that have the growth mindset, the people that realize that it's going to be challenging, failures are like a learning experience. They actively look for feedback so that way they can become better. And they like want to grow. They want to learn. They have an open mind. They're currently trying new things and like not giving up even when they fail. Those are the people that are successful. Now, we all have a fixed and growth mindset in our lives. The question is, which one do you default to? A, and B, when you do have a fixed mindset, then how quickly or what do you do to help yourself identify and switch to a growth mindset? So if you even think to yourself something that you're so-called really good at, or you pride yourself in doing, how many failures, how many mess ups you have, how many like things happen that most people don't know about you in this process of getting really good at it, right? But because
I can relate.
But because you knew that like you'll figure it out and you'll like get there eventually, and you're just gonna persevere through it, then you got to where you came today, right? Any athlete, you like know how much they practice every single day to get to that place. And same thing with the fixed mindset. There's like a sport that you just say like, no, I can't swim, or just like, no, I can't play the guitar. Well, obviously you're never going to be good at it because like you have this thing in your mind. So that's the very first thing.
Well, thank you. So I want to just expand on that. I mean, that's a very powerful piece, because you've defined almost everybody in there, if not, because to your point, the majority of us are typically, I think, more on the mindset where, this is it. This is what's meant to be. It's going to happen the way it is. I'm going to do my gig and my piece, and that's about it. But they don't, or at the first hurdle, at the first obstacle, whatever, they're like, okay, I can't do more, whatever, and then they justify it, excuses here and there, and again, there's all the factors. Maybe sometimes they're surrounded with people that, then I'm big with that. To your point, those 5 people, that can make the difference for your life, because if somebody is always like, forget about it, many people tried, and some people are just notorious about that. They just because you thought about something they haven't, they'll actually put that idea down like it's not going to be valuable. Just because you didn't try it, I'm going to try it. What's the big deal? And I know you mentioned something they fail. I actually don't believe in failure. So
I agree. Okay.
There is no such thing as failure. The
Unless
only time
you quit.
That's it. I mean, that's the thing. People always like, I failed. Well, you didn't fail. I mean, you just learned another way. Well, basically, your failing is actually just a test run, to figure out a better way. It's like when you test in things and you keep testing and testing until you get it right. That's exactly what it is. But so it fails when you stop, because there's no more. I mean, you end it there. I mean, that's it. But as long as you're in it, it's not a failure. And failure itself is learning. So learning is a gain, not a loss. So at the end of the day, it's still a good thing. It's an experience. So I don't see it that way. And but that's, again, talking about mindset. That's how I, think it. That's how I force myself to believe in that concept, and it helps me. Now, that doesn't mean that it's for everyone, but I would love to have that for everyone, because I think it serves me better. I think it serves everyone that thinks that way better, because it keeps you on a positive spin. Like, remember, we're talking about energy, in the beginning of the show. That's big, and if you're not focused, if you're not actually determined, you said perseverance, you have to persevere through things, because things are going to get tough. It's not easy. You're going to get, a little left and right, things that are going to be thrown at you financially, this, that, whatever. And if you like at the first strike, you're like, okay, I'm out. Okay, that's it. But if you struggle through it, you eventually get to the point where it's like, boom, done. It's over. It's all water under the bridge. And now you have the method, you have the formula. It's a success. So you mentioned something about identifying that, piece, but then you said the growth mind. We all have them. It's just a matter of where we tap into them. And that's exactly what, that's important for people to hear today, is that just because you are thinking this way doesn't mean that's the only way. You have another way, and that other way is available. You just have to realize that it exists and start tapping into that little, concept. I mean, it's like having 2 buttons, you like blue pill, red pill, you just have to get the right pill, and switch the medication on you, and that's it. But that's exactly, switching the mindset is a key. If we see everything negative, you're going to see all negative. You keep saying, I can't do this, you're not going to do this. If you say, this is difficult, your body, everything else is going to you're going to start manifesting everything difficult. That's actually very, problematic. And unfortunately, I think that's a syndrome that affects a lot of people. And in life, because people don't want to keep, doing things or repeating themselves and trying over and over, because they get tired and they get, discouraged. And I think that's where that growth mindset is a whole different world, because you're tapping into that. No, this is part of the game. I just got to keep going. I got to find another way, left, right, this, that. And I have to believe that it's going to happen. I think that's the biggest piece. I mean, that's at least how I see it. Am I?
Yeah, no.
Okay,
really good. I think that one of the big parts about a growth mindset that I didn't mention is that they focus on the process. Not that, like, I don't like to say it and people think like, okay, like the goal isn't worth it. Like, yeah, be a millionaire and make tons of money and have your dream relationship and whatever. But your main focus is the process of getting there, so that, okay, so you messed up and you made a mistake, but what are you learning from this? So that way you can continue on in your process. Another thing that I find super helpful for people, if they catch themselves saying fixed mindset things, right? So first of all, one of the ways to notice is if you're falling in a fixed or growth mindset is watch the words that you're using. That's a very good identifier for how your brain is thinking. But one of my favorite ways to switch from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset is by simply adding the word yet. So if you say, I can't swim, and you add the word yet, then now I can't swim. It's true, but yet you're going to get there. You're going to work through it and you'll be able to do this. I can't build this business yet or whatever. Just add the word yet and it'll start working that way.
And it's funny because if anyone watching and listening right now, just say that to whatever you're doing right now and you realize that you can.
Yes, exactly.
Because just by default, like we're not doing anything yet. We're not doing that yet. That in itself, that could be anything right now in your life. Whatever, just think of something today. And if you say, yeah, that means in the moment you're not doing it, but you can do it in the next moment as long as you take stages and the right steps towards it. And I love that. I mean, that's one key word that can change the whole world for you. And again, like I can versus I can't, why, yes versus, well, why yes versus why not? I mean, a lot of people, oh no, why not? What's
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like just what's the worst that's going to happen? This is me. I always say, what's the worst that's going to happen? I move on and I'll get to better things. I've started so many businesses. Some of them worked, some didn't do it. I've tried so many concepts, and some concepts I've started before some large companies literally have them. And actually they have them today. And I can prove that I did it before. I just didn't have means or maybe the skills or whatever at the time, but it was ideas and concept. You talked about like, you have your dreams and you set them up and you start thinking about the process. There's no limit. There is no, people put a cap. Why? There is no cap. There's not, if you can think about it, you can do it. I mean, literally, if someone else is doing it out there, you can do it. And why not do something that no one else is doing?
No one else, right? Like the 4-minute mile. Like who said there's a limit?
There is no limit. I mean, actually, if we had this concept for the beginning of time, we would not be talking right now, you and I, because we won't be able to have communication, devices and technology, right? That's exactly the problem. People always have to think that just because we haven't thought about it yet, somebody else is going to think about it. And then everybody's like, oh, that's easy. Well, that's yeah. Well, it didn't come up from you, but even if it did you do something about it or not? I mean, that's all. And then that's exactly what it is. We can be 5 of us thinking about the same, but someone's going to take the leap towards it and make it happen versus you might take time. Like I said, I started some things, I didn't finish them. And, some other people beat me to them, and that's okay. I still have them, but, maybe I'll think another way to still bring them back and compete. Who knows? But those are some of the concepts that, that make a difference in people's lives. Again, yes, positivity, like to me, there is no such thing as impossible. I mean, I love that the word impossible has I am possible. I use that all the time. But these are little things that I surround my brains with personally. Like I keep feeding myself to keep me motivated. I told you, like I'm my own client when I do these shows, and I get people such as yourself and giving us these pumping stuff. I just take them. That's my pill. It gets me going. So, but hopefully we share. I mean, you and I right now on the show, we'll give in some energy to people watching and listening. Hopefully this is contagious enough that they're like, yeah, this is good. I can do this, and that's all it takes. We're not special. Maybe in our own ways. I don't know.
Every person's special in their ways, but yeah, I get you're not more special to not be able to do certain
exactly.
things.
We're not unique. I mean, we're just normal. We just do different things different ways. And by the way, there's no such thing as one way. You can do it trillion ways, and there's no limit to what ways you can do. Just because I didn't think about it doesn't mean it cannot be done though. And that's actually a big problem with business in general. Like, that's not how it's supposed to be done. What gives? Maybe not. Maybe we'll find this way. Let me just test this out. You test a couple of things like, oh, it does work. See?
Creativity is like what's really going to get you big. So without it, you're not going to.
That's right.
You have to be doing things different.
So, Esty, you talked about those elements of thinking. Are you willing? I mean, I know we have limited time. Can you break that down to us today?
Yeah, so it's a very deep concept, but I'll go like surface level just for people to understand. But you ask as many questions as you need to understand it better. So let's backtrack a little bit. There are 3 phases of thinking. Okay, the first phase is called input, how we take in the information, what we're using with our 5 senses, any information we're picking up. Okay, the second phase is elaboration, how we're processing it. Like usually this is the part that we actually call thinking, but it's all part of it. And then output is how we tell the world we know what we know. So that could be talking, texting, sign language, whatever, right? Now, in each of these phases of thinking, there are cognitive functions or thinking skills that help us do this phase. So some of the cognitive functions are called like clear perception, orientation in space, being precise, defining the problem. There's like a whole bunch of things. Now, all of us have stronger ones and weaker ones. But here's the good part. We can always improve all of them. So as you get better at one of them, then you'll start seeing more areas of your life improve. And as you improve another one, even more areas of your life will improve.
Love it. Love it. So in your experience, I mean, you work, you said, with, executives and, leadership levels or entrepreneurial levels. And, is there anything that is a trait that is unique to them, that is specific, that makes them more, I guess, in that category versus some other folks that may not be in that category? Now, again, this is we're all equal when it comes to abilities. I believe that everybody is, other than, unless you have a real disability that that's out of birth, and even with that is not necessarily a definition, because many people were brought into this world with some disabilities and they became leaders in this world in a lot of areas. We can demonstrate that over the centuries. But the idea is that everybody has the ability to do certain things. But what makes those folks different? Is it that mindset? Is it actually that they tap into that growth mode versus the others?
Okay, so first of all, let me just go back into what you said about having the ability. I personally believe that every single person, even people who are born with disabilities, have the ability to learn anything and do anything. The difference is that it might take them more time, or they might have to learn it in a different way or develop different skills first, but it is possible. So just putting that out there. So no matter what you have. Now, it's the question that you asked is a very common question. Many people ask, and there isn't like one trait that I see that like entrepreneurs or CEOs have that I think everybody needs to improve. I think everyone needs to improve all of them. However, there are certain ways the brain's wired that need different cognitive functions. I'll give you an example. ADHD, people think, okay, like their brain is just stuck a certain way. They're just always going to be flying. They're always going to be a certain way. But really what it is a very big part of it. There's multiple parts, but certain parts of it is that they just have very specific cognitive functions that are weak. So for example, one super common one with ADHD is the concept of time. Now, in general, time is a very abstract concept, and even if you don't have ADHD, it might be hard for you. But people with ADHD struggle with this, especially like many times, like they're like, okay, I'm running to a meeting, but I'm first going to throw in another load of laundry, or I'm just going to take this quick phone call because their brain doesn't understand that how much time it's actually going to need in order to do this thing before they have to do the really important thing, right? They don't want to be late for their meeting, but they also really want to make this phone call. So I'm just going to stick it in, just going to take me 30 seconds. But no, right? So what we would do is then we would do different exercises to help you improve your cognitive function of time. So for example, first you want to make sure your brain understands the general concept of time. So like a big monthly calendar to see what's coming up next. Then goes understanding how long your daily tasks is. What I like to recommend for anyone who struggles with time is for a week. You're going to hate me for this, but it's super helpful. For a week, keep a note of all the things that you do very often, taking a shower, writing emails, whatever it is, right? If you post social media, whatever, write like a list of all the things that you do very often and time how long it actually takes you. That way you'll start seeing, okay, taking a shower doesn't take me 10 minutes. It really takes me on average 18 minutes. So I know how long I actually need for it. Obviously, some days it takes longer and some days shorter, but your brain will get a better understanding of how long a minute is and how long it takes you to do your daily tasks, right? So people with ADHD might be taking a bunch of different, let's say, productivity trainings or time management trainings and things like that. But if their brain doesn't understand the concept of time, they're not going to be able to plan their day accordingly. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And by the way, I think that's a perfect, example in terms of for all of us to understand is that you're right. Time is relative, right? But it's also concise. You can precisely, pinpoint what you need to do. But if you don't know what it means, or you cannot understand how long it will take you to do certain tasks, before you move to the next one, that is definitely going to be, a difficult task. But you're right. If I cannot comprehend that, I'm not going to be able to put it in play correctly. And the other part is that what you said is so powerful because you just gave everybody watching right now, listening, no excuse.
I am no excuse at all for anything. Okay.
Neither am I, and I can tell you that's exactly there is excuses. No excuses. They're just smoke screens. So because you want to avoid, and that's the other thing. You don't face the reality of things. Some people, just because it's too difficult, it's going to be challenging, I'll just find 10 reasons why I can't do it. Yeah, and that's how the mind works, like, because it's a reaction to just like, this is too hard. And that's the other thing. Sometimes we've listened enough of, oh, businesses don't work, this doesn't work, you cannot do this, a lot of people fail. And then that's actually feeding your brains, and it's sitting there and it's in your subconscious. And now every time something's like, now you start talking like everybody else that you hear. You see, like, you have to talk from within, not what you hear. You can take that, process it, filter it out, take the good, and just shove out the other stuff out of there. And that's a big difference. But I think in your concept and what we talked about right now, everybody, doesn't matter what level, you can still adjust and shift, your mindset and be in the right place and do those, and achieve. And thank you for actually, answering that part about, are there any specific traits? Because these folks are also normal folks that actually just strive to get there, and they do the work to get there. And some of those people did start just like everybody else, where, and sometimes it's even worse circumstances than many, and they still make it through. And because they're committed, because they have that vision and they work towards it, and they build that process for it. And the process is not easy. That's the other thing. Like, you talk about process, getting an idea is one thing, building the process towards it and maintaining it and adjusting it as you go. It is a very, very difficult task, and nothing happens you can plan all you want. Businesses start, large scale with capital, with everything, and they still have to improve all the time. Otherwise they'll fail, and they have to adjust with everything that's going on. So it's, even just the human factor itself in a business is a very, difficult task, to manage. And you talked about, how to deal, for example, with employees. That's a big deal, and you deal with humans, and you have to understand how that applies to them, and how they can benefit or not benefit from certain situations. So it's big. But thank you for bringing that up, because I think for our audiences, it is very easier to understand that anyone can do this. But obviously, if you can't do it personally, and not everybody can do it personally, sometimes you need the help, therefore
No,
they need
I think everyone can grow and everyone has more to learn. But anyone, if you want enough, you'll find a way to be able to, with help or without help, everyone needs help. But I'm saying, like, either with personalized help or books or podcasts like this, right?
Well, the podcast is based on your on your knowledge and skills, and therefore that's actually, we're sharing the value in a short time. But this is just a preview, really, to what can be done to, for example, the university, and you guys go deeper in this mode, and you help more. And again, I know you focus, you said, on the CEO levels. Is that exactly just
Entrepreneurs, usually, I can't say there are no exceptions. They just know that, like, you're coming into a group, because we do most our things in groups, so that way you could, like, learn from each other also. And it will just usually be like examples that are less relatable to you. But if you're fine with that, then we're fine with that.
So how does the program work? Let's say someone wants to join the program.
Yeah. So our signature program is called Your Brain Rewired, and you'll get like a packet in the mail with everything you need. And what's most important in that packet is a set of papers called the Organization of Thoughts. This is actually the papers made by Professor Ruben Feuerstein, the professor that made up this program that I spoke about in the beginning, that like made up this program that we're based on. And they look like fun sheets. They're dots, and we have to find shapes within those dots. Now, as you're doing these sheets, like every session, we meet twice a week live. So yes, you heard that right. Twice a week in person over Zoom. Not in person, but like over Zoom. Yeah. And what happens is we do these sheets. Now, as you're doing these sheets, we're watching to see how you're approaching the sheets and how you are doing them. They're not hard. They're like, your brain is actually going to hurt from them. They're like real challenge, because the way that you're approaching those sheets gives me an insight to how your brain works and how it approaches life in general. I'll give you an example. If, let's say, you see the dots, and you see the paper, and there's just like tons of dots, and you get overwhelmed and you don't even know where to start. My assumption is, if it happens more than once, and like I see it as a pattern, that probably when you have a lot to do at your work, you get overwhelmed. Or if you walk into a messy room and you have to clean it, you get overwhelmed. Right? So what's going on there? I'm going to have to identify which one of the 20 cognitive functions are weak. That would come from blurred perception, and help you, give you strategies, help you mediate you, what we call this process. We don't teach you, we like ask you questions to help you come up with it yourself because your brain needs to understand it in your brain's way, but help you come up with strategies to strengthen this cognitive function of clear perception. So then afterwards, you're going to take the strategies that you use to do the sheet into real life, bridge it into life, see how it applies into your everyday life, in your business, in your work, and your kids, whatever. Come back a few days later, back on live, share how you did it, and continue the process.
Well, I love that. And thank you. And, it's funny you saying that. I'm thinking, I've talked to business coaches and life coaches. This is a little bit, deeper than all that. I mean, this goes into like the brain functions and the actual cognitive piece of it. I mean, this is like when you're a kid and they do the assessment, to see what levels you can, apply to. I mean, I've seen that. I mean, my daughter, when she was younger, she, it was funny because we took her overseas and for a whole summer, she didn't speak English. And when she got back, she could not, comprehend anything because it was literally like her first year in school and she was completely just like, so we had to test her and see that she can do all the functions because they could not figure out what's her problem, but it was just a language barrier. And so that was a mistake that we made. And we didn't think about it because, she was 5, just 4.5, whatever. And then
it's a mistake. It's a learning experience.
Well, it was, but we had to learn with her about the process.
Right.
So we had to go through all this stuff. And it's funny because it almost was the same, like, now obviously we're talking about deeper stuff here, but it was like, she did all these kind of assessments to see like what she has and what she can, what how her brain functions, whether she, her attention, all that stuff. And it was interesting to see her going through that, like even I at the time, like, she's 17 now, but I was like, I learned a lot of stuff to your point, in the process. And even that actually opened up my eyes to like how we function, in terms of cognitive stuff, Yeah. So that was kind of like an interesting piece for me, just from that level. When you're talking about it right now, it's kind of like, this is the deeper stuff. This is really, like when they do IQ test, they start.
Right. Except that we don't believe in IQ because we believe that your IQ can change. But similar type of, a lot of people are like related to each other because that's what most people know about versus this.
What I'm saying, those are the same thing. Like there's a bunch of stuff that sometimes doesn't make sense. They're just like pictures, this, that, the other, quick, reasoning and all that stuff and then they establish, but these are like metrics that they were created just to standardize a certain level. But to your point, it doesn't have to be that way. And you're right. People, have different levels of learning capabilities. And some people have a slow, mode in the beginning, and then they all of a sudden like forget about it. They just supersede everybody else. And some people like, they show so much excitement in the beginning, and then somehow it doesn't work later. I don't know. But again, you can't, that's very difficult, and you can't judge. That's the other part. And I love the way you said it. There is no such thing. It's just a matter of tapping into those, wiring them correctly, rewiring your brain. And by the way, it's funny. I had a show that's called Rewire Your Brain before.
Oh wow! Okay, what was that about?
It's called the Rewire System, and with our guest, and she does a business coaching too, but it's a little different. It's more about different applications of how you think, how you manifest, how you do certain things. But it's amazing, like you're using the same terminology almost. But that's good. I mean, it's reinforcing. That's the other thing. Like this is the part about this. Like I've had so many business coaches and life coaches and specialized coaches such as yourself right now. And everyone has a different angle. We all kind of have similar, parts of discussions, but everybody is bringing a different angle. And audiences, this is like almost the best resource you can have because you have the ability to learn from people that do this. And these are, results that you've proven already. I mean, I'm sure this is, something that you do every day, and you have people that are actually seeing the results and they swear by it, they're living by it, and you made a difference in how they operate. And you talked about overwhelming. I mean, life can be overwhelming. Business can be super overwhelming. It's not easy, just waking up in the morning. I mean, you can think about a small business owner. I don't own a restaurant. I never did. But sometimes I stand there in the morning and I'm like, now, imagine this guy has to actually have all their supplies in the morning. They have to manage to make sure that the stuff, what happens at 10 o'clock if their produce is not there, their meats are not there, nothing, the delivery is delayed. That is a nightmare for that person. And I can just, and again, this is just me from the outside. I can just put myself in their shoes right there. I'm like, ooh, this is tough. And things that you don't see, like you go to a restaurant, you sit there, but you don't get like what that morning looks like for these folks to make sure that everything and behind the scenes is happening so you can sit and enjoy that meal. And that's super warm. And that's just one example. I mean, I can imagine every business out there is the same, especially if you rely on other resources to run your operation. If we don't have Zoom, if Zoom actually malfunctions right now, we have a problem. If electricity
but with the
fails,
growth mindset, you find a way to go and overcome it. Yeah.
As long as we have power, we have all the way. But you're right. I can get a generator. I can get a bat. There's always
Worst
a way.
Case, we reschedule, right?
There you go. See, but that's the mind of like, there's always a way out. As a matter of fact, I'm into martial arts, and in martial arts, we do have the concept, if you're grappling, right? And, we see, MMA and all this stuff. Yeah, there's always a way out. You can get out of any type of situation, but you have to believe that there's a way out. Otherwise, you're done.
Right, right.
So you apply that to real life, to business, and it works.
Yeah.
So ST, what else can you tell us about the program? I know we're coming out, I think we got a few more minutes. So what else can you tell us about the program, and how long does the program actually, work for?
Yeah. So your brain rewired is 3 months. So twice a week for 3 months. And that is like the base program. That's where we do the dots. This is the program where we go through this, like organization dots goes through all the 28 cognitive functions and helps everyone. And then afterwards, there's Professor Ruben Feuerstein created a whole bunch of like other programs that, first of all, is good for everybody, but specifically different programs work on specific cognitive functions. So if you want afterwards, if you're like, hey, I need to get better at the cognitive function of comparing, or I need to get better at the cognitive function of organizing and categorizing, then you're going to take those specific programs to help you do that. But you could only do that once you have already the foundation of the understanding of what all the other programs are. And they're also each about like 2 or 3 months, depending on the program and how.
Thank you. So when you mentioned earlier about the different exercises, the sheets that they have to work with, that's once they're registered in the program, or is that like a pre-assessment?
No, that is the program. So that's the difference between like doing, let's say, an assessment, and they're assessing you. This is a whole booklet of them. They starts off easy. It gets really, really hard. And throughout the session, I'm watching everyone as they're working. We purposely work in very small groups so everyone could get their mediation, their questions that they need for them. And that's why it can't be recorded, because you need different questions than somebody else. And we're watching the way you're doing it. You are developing new strategies. You are developing your cognitive functions as you do those exercises. Okay. That booklet is just for your brain rewired. Then there are other booklets for each one of the other programs with different types of exercises based on the cognitive function that you're trying to improve.
I like it. Now, thank you for clarifying that, because again, most of these programs, they give you like a quiz or a test before, just to see where you stand. And then they start, tailoring the program for you. In this case, the program is pretty much, you get into it and then you start working towards it. And then in there, you guys adjust with them. Am I correct?
Yeah, 100%. So I might have like a general knowledge. I spoke to you already. I know already, right? Like, so I'm talking about clients, right? We had like intakes and things like that. So I might have a general knowledge of which cognitive functions you need to develop, but I don't know specifically which questions I'm going to ask you. That is going to come out. Yeah, we have to be really creative and really like on our feet about this and ask the questions based on what you need. So I never know what a session looks like, and that's part of what makes it so much fun. I will say though about an assessment, like I do have an assessment. People want to know like what their 28 cognitive functions are. This is like a self-assessment. It's not like anything set in stone. Mm-hmm. But if you want to know like where you're standing with each one of the 28 cognitive functions, you could go to LifePix University. That's PIX.com/CF for cognitive functions, CF. And you'll see it's like less than 10 minutes. So we'll show you what each of the 28 are, and you'll be able to understand exactly where you're standing with each of them.
Excellent. So Esty, one more question for people watching and listening right now. You finished the program. Is there like a follow-up, like, later to see the results of the impact of the program and things like that? Or is there like a comeback, to do a reassessment to see where you are? Is there something that goes to that effect?
So you're going to see improvements right away throughout the program. It's not like the improvements is going to happen 7 years later. I mean, it can, but more likely it's going to happen in the beginning. So this cognitive function assessment, if you take it, we actually give it to all our clients before they start the program. And then again, 3 months later, when they finish, to see where they moved up with each of the cognitive functions. But what you're really going to see the improvements is the practicalities, how you're going to see in your daily life, how you are operating things differently than you did before. Like, if you want an example, back to like what I was telling you about the Tony Robbins things, right? So before, like, I was always really organized my whole life. I always planned everything, like since high school. I think I would plan my day every single day the night before. However, my brain always needed to do everything right now. So in a way, that's super good because I wasn't a procrastinator. But the problem with that was I couldn't put anything on the back burner. So I would have to like get up in the middle of what I was doing because I had this stupid thing I had to go and do, that I ended up like doing things sporadically and like ran around the places. I would go to the grocery store today and tomorrow, and I could just go tomorrow, things like that. So once I was able to improve this cognitive function of categorizations, and I was able to batch everything, not just batching social media or email, like literally batch my entire life. I saved, if I tell you over 10 hours a week, I'm telling you just 10 so you believe me. But like, I literally changed the whole way my brain thought about taking action, about planning my day, about doing everything. Like, to me, that's like results immediately, you know?
And thank you. I mean, that is clear. I mean, if you're making the changes, you will see that, because it's daily stuff that you're going to be touching on, and therefore you're going to see like, wow, I can do more today, or I can have more spare time to do other things, and now I can go to the gym, I can do other things, I can have time with my family. So it could be a lot of things, but you're right. If those immediate changes are going to happen, not just beyond to your point, it could be other changes that you'll apply eventually as you're progressing beyond the actual course and program. That's excellent. Now this is available nationally and internationally. I'm assuming through Zoom, you can be anywhere.
Right. Yes. Because it's on Zoom, it can be anywhere. We have different groups, like different time zones, to help with different people. But yeah, some people do have to be up late or early, but we try to accommodate as much as we can.
I know. It's tough. Trust me, I know, because I do some shows and they're like in Australia and some other parts of the world. So we have to push later. I do a lot of stuff in the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast. So we always have to gauge the time differences. So yeah, I know, but it's part of the game, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's all about adjusting and making things work. That's it. I mean, there's a will, there's a way, right? So it's always perfect. All right. So any last comments or advice that you'd like to share with our audiences today?
Yeah, I just heard something recently from actually one of my mentors in this thing. Now, I hope people don't hate me for this. I'm not like trying to like push anything on anyone, but just to like really just like get you thinking. And she was actually like talking to someone else, and it like really like hit at me, and I was like, wow. She said like someone was talking about another kid that she works in an orphanage, and she's dealing with the kids and whatever, and about things they were doing. And she was asking like the lady who was running the orphanage, she's like, are you God? Like, are you saying what this person can or cannot do? And I really think that like when we say like, oh, I can't do this and I can't, who said, are you the one who's in charge? Are you the one running this world? Are you the one that's like really doing this thing? So just remember, it's possible. As long as you believe that it is possible, you're going to have that growth mindset. You'll figure out a way to go and do it.
Well, that is very powerful, because to your point, yes, I mean, for those of us that believe in God and, whatever denomination, we do believe there's a higher authority and all that stuff. But we do believe that we have the ability. We have free will. We have choice. We have the ability to select and to make choices. And we have whatever is available in this world is for us to take advantage of and make it work to our advantage. So it's just a matter. It's up for grabs. You just have to do it. So if you don't take action, there's nothing's going to happen, right? I mean, you're like, yeah, I wish. Well, like I always say, you can dream all you want. I mean, the dreams. Like I have this thing. You can dream so bad that you can scare yourself, right? But that's great. That's my first, but with that, I have to also work as hard for those dreams to happen and take the right action, because I can dream all you want. They remain a dream. You got to put them in papers. You got to set goals, and you got to work towards them. And eventually, like I remember this quote that I always use. It stuck with me a long time ago, which some people dream of success. Some people wake up and work at it. And that's the main difference. And you're right. It's not about, you got it. You know what's working for me. It's not. I don't know what's working for me, but I know how this universe works. It's up to you to make it work. The universe is made for all of us to do things. And yes, some people will succeed. Some people, there's destiny, there's other things we can do, but it's all based on your action. There's always, multiple ways, there's always different ways. And depending on which road like if you take the wrong road, when it's a short road, you're going to end there. Right? I mean, that's same concept in life. If you get distracted and you take a smaller trail that has a cliff at the end and you can't go beyond it, well, guess what? You can come back. You have to retract back and then take the next one. So it doesn't matter that that ends, but it stops for you if you stop there and you say it's over. So there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, I love what you said, because I think for people, we need to understand that as long as we do and take action, and we know that we've done every single possible way, and we haven't, cut corners, and we are still doing, and we're not giving up, things will happen. And if I personally believe in that, and I would literally say that to anybody, anytime, anywhere. Don't disbelieve in yourself, because that's when you actually really hurt yourself. Don't listen to people. Or, how people told me that you can't do this, you can't do that, you're not qualified, you're not able to do this. Who would think you are? I've heard those before, and it's like, okay, I don't have to prove myself to you. I know what I'm doing, and right. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing, and let's see how it works in a few years. Only time tells, right? Results speak louder, right? So that's it. But that's it. Again, for people watching, listening, that is the best, a great advice. Do not limit yourselves because of whatever. Don't put limits that don't exist. There is no limit, so.
Exactly. Very well said.
No. I mean, I just try to piggyback on what you said, because you said, don't kill me for that. But no, actually, you made a clear, guidance for people, because sometimes people need to hear that. And, sometimes people are afraid to hear that, because that's the problem. Because when they hear that and they're not doing, they're like, oh, does that mean I have to, but but at least, now, we're not putting down anybody. You might have a certain set of circumstances at that point when you hear this show today that you feel like, in a position where, maybe not the right time. That's okay. Yet. Remember the word.
Yeah, exactly.
So just now it's yet. So you use yet, and you can do it. I mean, the concept will always work. It's just a matter of you have to be lucid about it. And take the energy, take whatever it's there, and stop listening to people that tell you, no, it's not, nothing can happen. Many people failed because we don't know what they did. The reason they failed, they stopped. That's the only reason. They didn't fail. They just stopped doing, because they gave up too early, and that's it. And, sometimes they change course. That's great. They failed at one thing. They learned from it. They started something else. They succeed at it. So again, we don't know the circumstance. So let's not judge based on what other experiences are. Your experience is yours, unique, and that's it. So, well, SD, that was great. What do you think? We had a great time.
That was awesome.
Well, listen,
a lot of fun.
You fed me some energy. I forget about it. I told you this is like one of my favorites. So, and actually, whatever we did here, that just keeps me going. So, this is like medicine for me right now. I just got a session with you. Thank you.
Well, both ways, So,
yeah. I appreciate it. And again, folks, I'll have the site on the description of the show, so people check out, the university, and hopefully see if it's value. Again, I guess whether you're an entrepreneur, you're a leader in a company, and this will be shared on LinkedIn, so a lot of executives and other people can actually benefit from this. Yeah, please take a look. There's always something. There's always room for us to grow and to learn more and to improve in what we do. So go for it. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much.
No, thank you. I mean, it's been a real hour and a lot of positive here, a lot of good stuff. So I hope that we delivered a great message to people here. And hey, take advantage of this, and definitely reach out to the team, reach out to SD, and see where that takes you. And hopefully your life will be better, and you will like, yes, that was the best show we heard. That was the best time, the best hour we spent, right? So that being said, I'm Hurricane H, and thank you for being with us and for watching, and we'll talk soon. New day, new show, new topic. Bye for now.